How do you choose a knife shape? Dean Smallwood of ADG Knives explains how he designs the knives he makes and what different people want.
This one was developed for bushcraft use. It's a bushcraft knife, effectively. You've got a classic design of bushcraft knife made famous by people like Lars Felt and Ray Mears, is something like this. But I wanted to make something with a wider, broader blade and a more distinctive and controllable handle. And I came up with that particular design, and it's proved to be one of the most popular knives I make. The first knife I actually made was over 20 years ago when I was working on a country estate. And it was one of those necessity things, you know. I wanted, I lost my knife. I was down shooting and lost my knife. And I thought, well, rather than buy one, I had use of a workshop and lots of bits of scrap metal lying around. I had an angle grinder and a couple of files, and off I went. With the rather odd year that we've had, I think a lot of people have actually taken the time to take stock of their equipment and the things that they've got, and they're thinking, well, actually, maybe it's time that I treated myself to a new knife or a new gun or whatever it happens to be. So yeah, it's been a very busy year for me.
Dean is not immune to buying shiny things during lockdown himself.
This little chap behind me, the dedicated knife grinder. There's a kiln here, so I can control all the processes for heat treatment right through to final packaging. I can do it all in house. It's been an interesting journey. It's been an enjoyable journey. And yeah, I mean, I have been incredibly lucky. My job was coming to a natural end anyway a couple of years ago. It was nice to, and I was lucky enough to have the funds available to equip the workshop and to turn something that I was dabbling with into a full-time job.
Dean's next knife is a move away from bushcraft. It's a field sports knife.
It was the deer hunter, and in fact, this may be a picture for you. There we are. That's what it looks like in the raw, so to speak. The deer hunter knife, a deer manager from Devon approached me with a set of measurements and parameters that he wanted in a knife, and so this one was created and sent down to him, and it's been very popular ever since. So it's one of the 3 gralloching knives that I make now. The fact that it's a slender blade means obviously there's going to be a little bit of work inside the carcass of a beast, something like a large red stag or something like that. So you don't want a big fat knife when you're gralloching the deer. You know, I've had a couple of people buy these knives just simply because they like the look of them, and they said, well, it's perfect for bushcraft work as well. Yeah, of course it is. Each of the knives I make has been designed for a specific task, but it doesn't mean to say that that's the only thing they can be used for. So, what happened next? Dean, can you make me a neck knife? Yes, absolutely. That one. A neck knife is a knife that you wear around your neck, Charlie. Okay. It sits about here. I haven't got a sheath available at the moment, but it sits in the sheath like so, with just a handle at the bottom. There's a little lanyard placed in the top, and you just wear it around your neck like so. It doesn't look as dramatic as that. Obviously it's got the sheath around it. But it's also known as a pack knife. I mean, there is still quite a bit of weight to it, so if you don't want to wear it around your neck, it can go in a pocket or in a backpack. You know, it's a nice little bushcraft knife if you just need something. It's a good little farmer's knife as well, you know, for cutting baler twine, opening feed bags and things like that, you know, so it's a little all-rounder really. So I am thinking of making something about half the size of that. And that's purely because sometimes when I cut out the shapes of the knives on the bandsaw, I'm left with a little bit of steel on the end, and I'm thinking it's too good to throw away. It's got to be used for something, hasn't it? So you never know, you might find one yay big coming along soon. The next knife really was this one here, which is named after a hill on the Isle of Lewis called the Murneg. I hope my Scottish viewers that I've said that right. I probably haven't, but it was designed as a work knife really, and a friend of mine, Graham, who approached me after many years and on Facebook and said, could you make me a knife, and gave me these specific parameters to make it to. I sent it up to him, and he's immediately ordered 2 more for his son and his father. So they have a family set of 3. This is hand-cut jimping. It's called jimping, and so it locks your thumb in place. Some of the knives it can, you can slide on a polished blade. It can slide quite easily, whereas on this one here, it locks your thumb in place like so. It doesn't actually cut into you, but it sort of stops it from. It gives a little bit more control to the knife. Next one, what have we got? This is the latest design. It's called the Untitled, and it's basically just a different style of bushcraft knife. You see, it's just a little bit broader blade, a little bit shorter, and a different handle profile. This is just design work, really. Although I do have a finished one, and I'm very, very pleased with it. But yeah, I was just playing around with different designs, and then we move on to the biggies, which is the Oryx. This one here, I call it a micro machete because its bigger brother is this one. Sometimes these are referred to as kindling knives. So a friend of mine calls it a kindling knife. He's got one of these. You can use it for hide building, cutting the hide poles down quite easily, dressing a hide or something along those lines, really. Two of these have just been ordered actually by a professional deer manager who prefers to do the suspended gralloch, rather than using his delicate gralloching knife to make a suitable branch to suspend the beast from. He wanted to have something like this to do the woodwork with. This one is designed by a deer manager, Trevor Lim, and he's bought a couple of knives off me in the past, and he bought an elk knife and a seeker, which is the slightly smaller gralloching knife, but he wanted something smaller again, and so between us we came up with this design, which is called the Impala. And as you can see, for the more internal, delicate work, it's very controllable and very easy to use. And it makes the set of three. So we start off with something like that, and we end up with a smaller one like so. And there's one in the middle as well, called the Seeker.
When it comes to handles for his knives, Dean tends towards the two major types of material.
You've got your traditionalists who like wood, something like walnut here. This is Mexican bacote wood, which is beautiful grain when it's oiled, or olive, again, lovely when waxed and oiled. I've had a few people want me to make a knife for them out of walnut that will match their gun. So if you've got a walnut stock, a walnut knife, and we try and get as close to the colour and obviously matching the grain is almost impossible, but we can get as close, sometimes very, very close indeed. So they look like a matched pair. I do have a customer though who, this particular material here is called Kirinite, and it's an amazing man-made acrylic material which is incredibly tough, totally waterproof, contrary to popular belief, very, very grippy when it's wet. A wonderful material, as you can see, there's incredible colours it comes in. Now, this customer saw one of my posts on Facebook, I think it was, on an elk knife, and it had these scales on it, and he said, I want that, I want that, I want that. I said, okay. And I couldn't really work out why he was so enthusiastic. I mean, yes, it's a fabulous colour, a fabulous pattern, especially when it's all polished up and gleaming away. And it turns out he sent me a picture of his gun, and I forget which gun he'd got now, but it was black with this kind of toxic green swirls all over it, and then of course it made perfect sense.
Dean also makes the sheaths for his knives.
So I use some veg tan leather. I've got a sheath here that's almost finished. Still has to be stitched. It's been dyed, glued, the welt's been put in, logo stamp. And that's almost ready to go.
For more about Dean's knives, visit adgcustomknives.co.uk.